Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money with your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 544 of Screw the Commute podcast. I'm here with Claudia Monacelli, and this is a woman of many talents, I got to tell you. Not only did she work for Interpol and the DEA, that's the Drug Enforcement Agency. Listen to this job that I'm sure everybody wants. She worked for the anti-mafia unit, and guess where? Italy. What a sweet and safe gig that must be. Now, I suspect the reason she's not worried about the mafia is that she's also a psychic and I guess knows when they're coming after her. I don't know. So we'll have her on in a minute. Now, I hope you didn't miss all these episodes. I did a whole series on audiobooks. Episode 543 is about how to promote your audiobook. This is kind of reverse order here. And I want you to go buy, you bunch of cheapskates out there, go buy my darn audiobook. It's $2.99. It just got approved by Audible. I mean, if you've been listening to this podcast, I've given you a couple $1 million worth of training. So yeah, I'm teasing, but yeah, go buy this audiobook of mine. It's called Online Joint Venturing, How to Get in Front of 1 Million Warm Prospects in the Next 90 Days. I think they're pricing it at $2.99. And but I need reviews. That's since it's brand new and I just got approved by Audible. So give me an honest review on it, and there you go. All right. Now, if you're really interested in audiobooks, we had episode 541, Angela Olfest, who has done 90 voiceover for audiobooks. And she actually taught me all the intricacies of getting the technical stuff ready to get it accepted. And episode 535 and 537 are all about the journey I took and the tricks of the trade you need to know to get your audiobook accepted. And then episode 542, Kathy Nesbitt. She's, I don't know, she's not quite as interesting as Claudia is going to be. I don't know. She was very interesting. But she sells worms for a living. And I am not kidding. She sells worms for a living. You know, they say, do what you love. All right, well, I don't know how to interpret that one, but she sells worms for a living. It's $65 for half a pound. That's true. And it's $100 for a pound. And so there you go. So if you're in the market, that's who you get, Kathy Nesbitt. Now, anytime you want to reach back episode, you go to screwthecommute.com/ and then the episode number. We'll have all these numbers in the show notes for you. And make sure you pick up a copy of our automation ebook. This is something we actually did an estimate a couple years ago. It saved me 7.5 million keystrokes, and also allows me to ethically steal customers from people too slow to get back to people. So it'll save you tons of time and make you a lot of money. And most of the stuff is cheap or free, and on your computer already. You just nobody told you how to use the stuff. So it's how to automate your business. Go to screwthecommute.com/automate free. While you're at it, pick up a copy of our podcast app at screwthecommute.com/app. That's APP. You can put us on your cell phone and tablet and take us with you on the road. Now, we're still going strong with our pilot program to help persons with disabilities get trained in internet and digital marketing. Love to have your help on this, something you could really be proud of. We're changing these people's lives. And 2 of the people are blind and they're making videos. All right, so we're doing a GoFundMe account to help pay for all this stuff and all the extra work it takes to get this going. And then I took a grant writing course. So once I prove the concept of getting them hired or in their own business, then I'm going to roll it out really big to foundations and corporations to help lots of people with disabilities. So this is one of my legacy projects. So love to have your help on it. Check it out at the Internet Marketing Training Center, imtcva.org/disabilities. Click on the GoFundMe campaign and you can see their videos. And hey, if you're really flush with cash, you could sponsor a person yourself. How about that? Something you could really be proud of. All right, so we've got Claudia here. She's a podcast host also of Multiple Voices. It's a show for schizophrenics. That's why she had me on. I'm just kidding, folks. I don't know why she called it that.
Yeah,
but
he came on. He came on.
yeah, he and the
Fit
other
right
guy
in.
came on too at the same time. She's a PhD. Claudia, are you ready to screw the commute?
Oh, I keep asking myself, what am I doing here?
You were asking that when I was on your show. What is he doing here?
What is he doing?
All right, now, Claudia, in addition
yes.
to all the things I mentioned earlier, you're a voice coach, a
Yeah,
medical intuitive, an
Right.
energy healer, a professor.
Right.
And listen to this, folks. You have two different names, I guess, to hide from the mafia. What's that all
Multiple
about?
voices, you know.
Tell everybody what that's all about. Christine,
right.
Marionette or something?
No,
You're like you're a
Christelle
puppet or
Martinet.
something?
Okay, at one point in time, I guess it was 10 years ago, I decided to create this online persona as a way of getting out of my institutional job as a professor.
Institutional, yeah, that's a good word for
That's
it.
pretty.
Mental institutional is where I was.
And so I started reading cards online and then built a business around it. So why did I use another name? I didn't want my students to find me. I didn't want anybody to find me.
I think we're done with that now.
Right. No, so I put only my hands, never showed my face, and I started my business. But then I came out of the closet a couple of years ago when I decided I didn't care about that anymore. And it was becoming it's so important as a business because the importance economically far outweighed, my institutional, I keep saying, job.
Well, when you say you were reading cards, is this tarot stuff?
Yeah, well, they're tarot, oracle cards. I'd read runes. Runes are stones or crystals with Nordic symbols on them. I read those. I read postcards, crystal balls, water. I can read just about anything. But that is basically for entertainment. I'm
glad you said that because I was going to ask you, like, how much are you able to steal from any one person with this?
Well, now I don't force anybody to come to me. You know that. Just like people, you don't force anyone to come to you. I imagine, right?
Oh, yes, I do. Yeah. Why wouldn't I? So the LA Times wrote a letter in the letter to the editor section. The title of that section of the letters to the editors, because they had done an article on psychics. It said psychics are complaining about online fraud. Boy, that's rich.
Right. Well, yeah. No, it is true. It is true. All of the people who come to me pay me in advance. All right.
Yeah.
And only once did I get cheated out of payment. But I didn't give the service, whatever it is. It's not only, reading cards, there's other kinds of therapy involved, but it's a problem like it is in every kind of business. And stop laughing.
I can't help it.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to finish this episode. He's going to ask me for a tarot reading. I bet.
I have two students that are in tarot, but it kind of reminds me of this. When I would do speeches, a lot of times I talk about crazy websites, and one of the websites, if you paid so much per sentence, and they would contact the dearly departed on your behalf. Right?
Oh, I don't get that. I don't get that. So much for every sentence that came out.
So it was like $5 or something.
Every word or sentence that they oh wow.
But their disclaimer was we cannot guarantee delivery. That's the truth.
It's cute. It's cute.
So this was a business. Now, how did you advertise this business?
Okay, so let's just go back to what you just said about we can't guarantee delivery. What happens? There are psychics and there are psychics, right? So a lot of people walk down the road and all of a sudden they stop in their tracks and they say, "My God, I have to call my friend Joe because he's going to get into an accident. Something comes to them and they think this is a message from a higher power. All right. Or something, they're driving down the road and they stop all of a sudden because they, in their gut, they get this feeling that they have to stop. All right. So that sort of interrupts their day. That is, they're not in control of that. But there's the other side of this psychic story is that people who work in this business, I hope they do this, but you are only concentrating on what you have to get when you're working. Or else, I mean, if I would be walking down the street all the time, listen to all of the message that were coming in, I wouldn't even be able to eat anything during the day, So, I mean, it is a job that you control and you know where to get the messages when you get them. So in that disclaimer, for example, when I work with a person as a medium, I have no trouble contacting the person they want to contact because I get the information before, I get the permission before. There's an ethics behind this. And stop laughing. Don't laugh, Tom. But so there's never a money back here unless that something goes wrong. And when I open communication, all of a sudden I realize that there are just too many negative forces, and then we just postpone it to another day. But no, there are two sides to the psychic story. You really know, you have to know where to get the information, when to get the information, when the information is valid.
Well, it's kind of like your internet was down. I can't, my internet's down. I can't reach your great uncle.
Yes, sorry about that. Try tomorrow. Yeah.
All right. So, and how long did you do this? Or are you still doing that?
All right. No, I still do. I've been doing it for so many years. Professionally online, it started 10 years ago, but I have been working for over 30 years doing this kind of work. And it grew to be a business through that, that instance of me saying, oh, I've got to have a little fun with what I like to do. I'm a third generation member of the occult. So I monetized it, actually, put it online and started developing different services for people, trying to literally read or understand what was happening in at the moment. What did people need? For example, I'll give you the example of today. What's going on today? We are, 2 years ago, the pandemic started, and now the whole psychic world has been blown up with negative entity attachment, alien attacks, big time. So 3 years ago, 2 years ago, when people used to come to me for a simple card reading, they would ask me questions like, oh, Christelle, then, they would call me Christelle. Now they call me Claudia. When are they going to call me? Will I ever get married? Questions around their love life, their work. I still haven't got a job. Today, after the pandemic, 2 years, I started to get questions. 90% of the questions, 90% of the concerns that people have are around, what is my soul's purpose? I know I'm meant to do something greater. I know I'm meant to do something more than just, punch a card in the morning and then come home. What is that? So that's a big change.
Well, here, I'll send you the message right here. So you tell them, I'm getting a strong signal. You're supposed to go join Tom Antion's mentor program.
All right, I want to kick
back. You get a commission. Yeah, you get a commission for that. See, there's nothing wrong with that. I'll take care of them.
All right.
All right. Now, this energy healing stuff, is this what they call Reiki? Did you ever hear that?
No. Reiki is, I'm a Reiki master as well.
Oh my God. I got it. Here, I'm in Virginia Beach. Okay.
Yeah, I get it.
This is a big area for that kind of stuff.
Why would that be?
Well, this old dentist from, what's his name? There's a whole institute here. This guy that was a psychic medium. I can't think of his name, but the whole institute's here. People come in from all over the world to go to this institute down by the beach. I can't think of the guy's name, but, and then there's all these places that do crystals and all this stuff. But
yeah,
here's my problem with this. You can go downtown here, and a 2-day course, you can become a Reiki quote master. Well, the word master, that to me means years and years
Of course.
of work in your
And
field,
yeah.
and I just can't see
Well,
this.
yeah.
And then
Well, today you can buy any kind of certificate, PhD. Today you can get anything like that,
exactly.
and you know that. So, I mean, there too, the issues of being a master up until say 10, even just 10 years ago, to become a Reiki master meant that was 3 levels, and that it is expensive, and you have to go through those practices, and it had to be done in a certain way. Over the years, even online now and YouTube, you can find free videos that will give you a certain, knowledge about it. And many people just make their own certificate and call themselves a master. So it's hard to discern,
You
how
need to,
to.
you masters need to go and call the Federal Trade Commission about fraud in Reiki field. And,
Yeah,
and,
yeah, yeah.
and
But
see,
it's hard.
here's a non-believer.
Yeah.
Whenever you can do this, then
Hmm.
I'll believe in it. Okay.
Hmm.
And I know that you don't touch the person, right? Your hands are
No,
like,
you don't put hands
right,
on,
right.
but you
So
put hands near
right.
near them if you're in person.
So
Right.
here is what'll make me a believer.
Hmm.
I want to see a Reiki haircut and a Reiki car wash. If you can wash my car, if you can
Yeah.
cut my hair, I will believe in Reiki.
I don't practice Reiki as in the way you mentioned. My my You asked about energy healing, and I'm a medical intuitive. Medical intuition talks about you say to me, all right, look, Claudia, something's going wrong. I feel that something's obviously wrong. I got into a car crash. I keep meeting the same kind of people, and just after 2 or 3 dates, it's inevitably it ends. I keep bumping my head. Things happen. I broke my toe. So they come to me. They know that there is negative energy around them, and what my concern is to see how concentrated it is in certain areas, because it can eventually lead to full-blown diseases. And so I divide the body into the different systems of the body: the skeletal system, the lymphatic, that, and the reproductive, and so on. And in those systems, I look at all of the organs and parts, right? And so I map out where there is a concentration. And then we come into a session and we talk about it, and we understand where it came from. And I start to clear them energetically. You would be surprised. I don't give them a haircut. No.
Well, see, I'm thinking if I was doing this, if somebody came in and they had broken their toe, hit their head, and got in a car crash, I'd say, get the hell away from me. You're cursed.
Right.
I don't want to.
Yeah, there's something wrong there.
I don't want to get hit with lightning. Somebody trying to hit you and they miss and hit me.
Yeah, there's something wrong there.
All right. So let's come down more to my earth here.
Oh,
and, yeah. And
I wonder where that is.
well, the field of being an interpreter. You are also you just got off a job before you got on this call.
Yeah.
And that can be a good lucrative field, right?
Well, yeah. But see, I don't like to work with all topics. My specialization is the political arena, and more than that is the undercover business, the anti-drug, the anti-everything.
All right, but did you ever say, he shouldn't have said that, I'll change it for him?
Well, yeah, it happens. It happens that people, for example, the Russians are very direct, whether they speak Russian or English.
Mm-hmm.
And to an Italian, you cannot be as direct as the Russian is.
What do you mean? They pinch you in the butt when you're walking down the street. How less direct can you get than that?
Well, that must have been a long time ago. Today they're getting haircuts somewhere else. These guys used to pinch. So let's say that you tend to get a specialization. And so my specialization is sort of the undercover stuff, the investigations. I work with the police often. I live very close to the Ministry of the Interior. Um, what do they call them? Intelligence services, one of the branches. And so it will happen. I'm on call sometimes and I don't like to respond, but the best times they know that I'm on call would be during the during the night.
Do you get paid to be on call, whether
Oh
they
yeah.
use you or
Well,
not?
yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
And we're just talking about 2 languages here?
Well, I know 5, but my work is with English more than anything else, because all people who come in and are from areas of the world where they can't find interpreters of that specific dialect, that specific language in a pinch, they'll call me for the English, from English into Italian. Or sometimes they'll use 2 interpreters, and we're vetted over and over. We get vetted several times. Every other year we get vetted, and it's fascinating. It's
They
fascinating.
ever use you to
Sometimes
solve a crime with their psychic abilities too?
Well, no, I've never worked with my psychic abilities in this country. No, in the States, yes. At a distance when I was living here. Yeah, but I can't want to talk about that. I can't talk about that.
I know, you'll have to kill me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no. It's a nice story, but I don't know, Tom, wouldn't your listeners be more interested in the business side to that?
Well, that's what I wanted. My next question was going to be how much money can you make as an interpreter? Now, a friend of mine made the bulk of her money on tour buses. She would, let's say if a German group of people came in, she would get hired by the tour and she'd be with them the whole time. And then they'd tip her at the end, plus the money she made. So that was just one way an interpreter could make money.
Well, they're not interpreters; they're tour guides. Interpreters are all right.
That's true. But multilingual people could make money. In that fashion.
I also was a tour guide in the city of New York. I was licensed to do that. Well, it is no big deal. I mean, all you have to do is repeat the same thing 4 different languages, and by the time the bus passes, you're down 3 blocks. It's a pain in the neck.
But now all you'd have to say is, okay, there's a homeless person that will probably kill you. There's a guy shooting up heroin right there.
What's interesting is the way you create the network for your business, because it's not. You can open a website, put your name there and call yourself an interpreter, but I'm not in a position to be able to shout to the world that I work with certain agencies and others, so I work through colleagues of mine. I'm part of an international association, and where my language combination is known, and they know what I do, what kind of languages I work with and what areas I work with. And so it's sort of, I help you, you help me. And it is, in terms of how much money you can make, it differs depending on where you live in the world. Actually, in the United States, they don't make that much money for conference interpreting. Conference interpreting means you go into a wide, let's say a conference center. This is before COVID, where there are booths, interpreting booths, and you use headphones and work like that. And when there's a press conference, you use annotation, you use a system of note-taking to relay the messages to the press. Now, that is conference interpreting. It's much different from what we would call whisper interpreting, say on television, between actors between an actor who doesn't speak the language and the host of the show. Usually the interpreter is hidden away and you just hear their voice. So it has different ways, but the conference interpreting is by far the most well paid. If you work for lawyers, there are certain agreements that you can make with them for particular cases. Working for the courts, you can die of hunger, literally, here and in the United States. But Usually your best bets are having people know the type of work that you do, what areas you're specialized in, and they will call you for that. And if they're, for example, if I did, I don't know, Norwegian or Finnish, that
Mm-hmm.
has a certain combination. Say if I worked with German, or a combination that's not represented in the city of Rome. There are not many native English speakers in Rome that do this kind of work. And usually the Italians work back and forth, going into and out of English. And we qualify the language as language A, B, and C. So the A would be a native speaker, B would be a very active, I could use the language actively, and C would mean I work from that language going into my native language. So it's sort of a network of, it takes a while to establish your network. That's what that's where the difficulty lies. But for example, my friend in Los Angeles will call me. She knows that I'm good in some areas, working on television. She'll say, look, I've got this job. I can't do it. I prefer you to come over, and then we'll work that way. And vice versa. I call her for UN off agencies here, FAO,
All right, now
because she
do you
has a
get
good
paid? How do you get paid? By the hour or by the
well,
job or what?
for conference interpreting, when you go into that, even if I'm home doing it behind a screen, in our associations, it is by the day. If you work 1 hour, you are paid the entire
Mm-hmm.
day. That's the way it works. In other,
But do you get a
with other,
break? I mean, it seems like
oh
that'd be
yeah, you
pretty
can. A
pretty
day would
intense.
mean a day would mean maximum 7 hours. You work in with another colleague, so you only work 40 minutes, then you relay to the other person. The other person works 40 minutes, and you pass it back and forth. There's a break of at least an hour and a half, but the day is not longer than 7 hours.
Now, have you ever
um,
been with one of these cohorts and then you thought, man, they stink? Jeez.
well, people might even say that of me. Yeah.
Well, there was
Yeah.
one. Yeah, there was a famous one several years ago on TV. A guy that the interpretation was just just panned like crazy because it was so bad.
Well,
It
you
made
can't, and the problem is you can't recover from something like that. I mean, you can't. You have to know your stuff. You just can't. It's not like I don't know, the Hollywood industry, where knowing people will get you the job. You have to really open your mouth and say
right
something, or else it won't work. But
now.
it's
No,
fascinating.
is this
It really is
totally
fascinating.
different? Is this totally different from me giving you um, a, a something written in English and asking you to
Right.
put it into Italian?
Yeah, that's called translation. And translation is the written medium.
Mm-hmm.
And that is today that's paid. I don't do I used to do a lot of translation. I stopped because I'm not a person who I prefer the oral mode, and I prefer moving instead of sitting. It drives me crazy to do translations. I don't have the patience, but they are paid by the page or by the word, and that's completely different. It's different in every country, but more or less it is a by the
But
word.
it's a way to make money if you have the bilingual skill, and right.
It's paid much less,
Mm-hmm.
very much less. It's a lot less. Just like I said, the courts, if you work for the courts, you could die of hunger. And even though translation is highly technical, it's highly technical. I mean, there are some areas, for example, advertising, the slogans could be 4 words, and to change that into another language, you can't be paid by the word. You have to be paid by the time it takes, or a set fee for that job, for that request. And so that is a different area, but generally it's paid by the word or by the page.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm picturing these conferencing. Now there was a movie with that famous Australian actress. I can't think of anybody's names nowadays. She's
Yeah, that it was the interpreter of the movie. Yeah.
oh, there you go. So
With Sean Penn, I think
Sean Penn
was
and the
yeah, yeah.
girl was used to be
Oh, who was she? I can't
married
remember her
to
name.
Tom Cruise, I think, or I
I,
don't know.
I bet everybody in the world does that to her. She actually is in a movie now, playing Lucille Ball, the Ricardos. What is her name?
Yeah, she's so famous.
Anyway,
Yeah.
redhead. Yeah.
So what I'm thinking is, so the person on stage is making certain gestures and facial expressions and movements,
Yeah.
but the people are hearing
Yes.
you.
Yes. This is the problem. So let's say that the person on stage or at the podium cracks a joke
Mm-hmm.
and half of the audience laughs. If you don't make the other half laugh, there's something wrong. That's a
Do you
problem.
tell them to laugh?
A lot of people do. This was a joke. Please laugh.
You do say
Yeah.
that.
I've never done that, but a lot of people do if
Yeah.
they don't, we're not able to translate, the play on words or whatever it is. It's a fascinating job. I've worked for the State Department, and that was the beginning of my career. And so I got to travel all over the United States. And that was so challenging because I was living in New York City at the time. And so the State Department would say, look, send me a bio and say, give me 24 hours to accept the job or not, for a delegate from either France or Italy coming in for say 2 weeks, anyway from 2 to 4 weeks, usually 4 weeks. And so if you accepted it, you would fly down to Washington, spend a couple of days with them, planning the trip, depending on what they were interested in, if they were a curator, if they were a politician, things like that, on invitation from the United States, and then travel for a month with them. So you leave your home, you don't know, without knowing where you had to go, no dictionaries. You couldn't take you didn't know what. So the biggest problem I had, the very difficult trip I had once, was I was with someone who worked in the field of, he was a tax specialist. So I had to really up my game and study on the job. I really, had to study on the job. And this was really pre-internet, when you didn't have a little iPad you could carry with you. So it was tough. It was really tough. I had to spend a lot of time with the person. And oftentimes I would, leave the morning with my tail between my legs, knowing that I hadn't given the best, because I couldn't be a tax specialist myself, But, a couple of days before you leave, you do prepare glossaries, and you try to, maybe during the trip, ask the person themselves what they would be interested in, and to give you a few key concepts that you could deal with for the following day. So that it's everybody thinks that it's a glamorous job because you travel, and you do travel, but if you don't study, you can't work. And that's the big problem of interpreting, is all the travel.
I've only had one interpreter in my whole career. I was speaking in Mexico, and I think you've got a feel for my personality from our interview on your thing. So I'm going to mess with them, right? So I get up there and I'm doing my speech, and it's mostly male audience. This is in Mexico, and it's a female interpreter. So so I start saying stuff like, "Hey, isn't that interpreter really hot? Wouldn't you like to have her?"
Oh, that's terrible. That's terrible.
And these guys were just,
and there was silence.
These guys are cracking. I know she was a trooper.
Good for her.
Everything.
Good for her.
And and this one friend of mine, now she was speaking in front of a male audience, and they she was asking her friend, us speakers usually, if we're in front of an audience, it's mostly a different language. We try to say something, in their language. And one time I got slapped for it up in Montreal, Canada. I said, what did I say? I said, merci beaucoup instead of merci beaucoup.
Ooh.
Do you know the difference?
Well, yes.
It was something like, thank you for your nice ass instead of thank you. And I got slapped. But anyway, they told this lady, they pulled a joke on her, and she was doing a toast at the end of her speech, and she thought she was saying something like, health and happiness and everything. And she said, oh, more power behind your zipper. They all went crazy.
Yeah, there are war stories. Yeah.
All right.
Lots.
Now, you also have another interesting sideline. I don't know if this was tied into the energy work or not, but when I was talking to you on your podcast, you're talking about how to move.
Oh,
And
yeah,
then
yeah,
it
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
bowel movements. It was
Yeah. It's teaching people to move, teaching people to, and remember, I asked you, what do you do for movement? I have my
yeah,
dogs. I've got my dogs. I'm
yeah. I play
covered,
tennis and stuff like that.
Yeah, I work with movement. I teach people how to move. And I use the Feldenkrais method, which is a somatic uh, method, which means it's a body-oriented method. It's designed to help people connect to their body and learn ways to move
Well,
better.
how else would you move if it wasn't body oriented?
Well, no, you could move your eyes, which people wouldn't think is part of their body. You don't see them moving, but their eyes are
That would
moving.
be a little creepy, wouldn't it?
Well, or
It's like a
closing your
painting where the
eyes.
eyes are
Yeah,
looking back and
yeah,
forth
yeah.
at
Right. You move your head to the left, close your eyes, but your eyes stay looking to the right. And that really is, it helps you in so many different ways. But what is interesting about this more than anything else is that people who it doesn't only work for the body, but it also helps and has a positive impact on a person's mental state. So usually a lot of people who are looking for treatment for health, mental health, have a really beneficial come away from, they benefit from this method. And I use it also to teach in my voice training when I do voice coaching. It helps, it makes a person more aware of where things are and how they move. For example, if I said to you, Tom, look, do you have any idea what your rib cage looks like in the back, or how many ribs you have?
And it kind of looks like down at Captain George's seafood buffet, the rib section. I think mine has barbecue sauce on it. That's what I don't know. No, I don't think I know what my ribs look like.
Because everybody's not used to being in touch with their rib cage. It's like a
Right.
big block, and that's where, or their pelvis bone. The core of the method is learning how the pelvis helps you to move, using your head to move and your eyes to move. And I have different packages, and one is called Twist and Shout, because I like to work with the voice, and I like to work with twisting and turning the spine to help people connect with their back and their backside.
Backside, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Be one with your butt. Yeah.
Right.
So,
and it's fascinating. It is absolutely fascinating. You stand after doing this, you feel like you're 10 feet tall, and you literally, I've just miracles happen. For example, I've had two things that were really miraculous. One, I went in because I dance Argentine tango, and a number of times, well, when I didn't know how to dance, I used to get stepped on, break my toes, and I had to go through the motions, put the toes in a certain blocked fashion and not move them and all of that. But over the years, I started feeling that my toes were, how do you call those in Italian? It's called formicolia. When you feel like ants are walking over the toes, you lose sensitivity, right? In a couple of the toes on my right foot. And I thought, my God, if that could ever happen, I could fall if I, didn't feel the ground under my feet. I went to have a hands-on session, and this is literally hands-on, working with the skeletal system. So there are two, feet on. So there are two ways you work. You work in groups, having lessons. You teach lessons. I do a lot online. And the other method is called functional integration, where you work with a person on a massage table, which is particular to the Feldenkrais method. It's low and wide, and you move the person's skeletal system. So when I went to a person for this integration, for this functional integration, I said, look, I have these toes. and I swear I went to her that one time. I never had a problem with them again. I swear to you. And the last miracle is, I guess it's been 3 months. All of a sudden, I woke up and my finger, I guess they call it in English, they call it trigger finger,
Mm-hmm.
became blocked. And I thought, oh my God, this is the devil. This is all right. So I, tried to smooth it out. Nothing I could do worked. I went to the in functional integration for functional integration again, went to a colleague who has more experience than me. And I said, look, I'm ready to have the operation done and, get rid of this issue. She said, don't do it. Don't do it. I've had a man who was 94 years old. He had a problem with his thumb, and 3 months it just left. And so I worked with her, and I've been to her now 3 times, and I swear it's just like as if I have never had it before.
What's the
And
difference between that and a chiropractor?
well, the chiropractor pulls and pushes and tries to correct you. What Feldenkrais does is try to teach you how to use your own body. So if I'm not there and you need to move in a certain way, you've learned from my lesson. And going back to this trigger finger business, I know what to do to help myself and not to hurt it. For example, I had put my hand in a brace thinking I couldn't move it anymore. She said, get rid of the brace. That's never going to help you. And so there's a way. Chiropractors have a great job. They're laudable and all of that. When you leave the chiropractor, you will have to go back sooner or later. You're not going to be able to figure out yourself. You won't be able to fix it yourself. You won't come away with the tools necessary to fix it yourself. I'm trying to think of others that are very good for lower back problems and for shoulder blades and to correct the way people move and the way they extend their arms. I'm a swimmer.
How about rotator cuffs? What about the musculature?
Sorry?
How about rotator cuffs, like the musculature?
Well, yeah. Well, of course, you have to know how the system works. It's not only there obviously is the skeleton, but you have to know what muscles are in place. And that's part of our study. We have to learn how the muscles, what the role of the muscles are, what their role is. If I've understood your question.
Okay, so I got a question for you, but before that, our producer looked up those names. It's Nicole Kidman.
All right, Nicole Kidman. Yeah, right.
And then the foundation here is the Edgar Cayce Foundation.
Well, of course, Edgar Cayce. Yeah. I didn't know that it was Edgar Cayce wasn't from Virginia, was he? From Virginia?
I don't know that he must have landed here because that's a big deal here. The Edgar Cayce Foundation is down there, right off the.
So it is beach. A foundation, but Edgar Cayce doesn't have a direct connection just for Reiki. He is
he's all this other stuff, but he's dead.
Yeah. Yeah, he's dead. I channeled him actually on my YouTube channel. Yeah.
You didn't channel him, you YouTube channeled him. Well, first of all, I'm the producer, so I looked it up on my iPhone. So,
how honest you are!
Everybody thought, boy, this is a bigger show than we thought. So with all this 45 things that you do,
you talk a really good game. You are really, really good. I remember when you were on my show, I'm thinking, how could you? Why? Why do you want to work with all of those people? He says, I don't work with anybody. I only have a few people I work with.
So anyway, with all these things that you do,
mm-hmm.
what's the percentage breakdown of how much you work with voice coaching as opposed to energy healing, as opposed to interpreting, all the other stuff? So what's the percentage breakdown?
My let's say my greatest income comes from energy healing and mediumship, because
mediumship. Now there's a word we've never been on this show.
Well,
mediumship.
Yeah. Mediumship. And
Uh,
well, because I tend to shy away from interpreting jobs unless they are interesting for me. So I'll do it less. I'll do it much more rarely. I'll do one interpreting job a month instead of doing my mediumship all week.
mhm.
Or at least 3 times a week. And I love working with energy. And in the movement business, it's actually the business of it. I like working with both the voice coaching and the movement. It is the same thing. It works with the same Feldenkrais method. That is my life, in the sense that I spend all day with that business, because it's you have to know your stuff. You're always looking at different lessons to teach for certain cases, and I read case studies to see how, because the lessons are infinite. There's so many different lessons that you can create as well. But I think the most interesting for me today is the movement and voice, because I
Okay,
find
but
that
but
makes you
besides
live
me
better.
being the outlier on your podcast,
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
oh, what is it basically about? Multiple
what
voices.
Oh, you mean my
Yeah, your
my
podcast.
what is it about?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was on
Oh,
there, but I still don't know what everybody else was on there.
okay.
What's the overall thing
All
of
right.
multiple voices?
All right. Now, my podcast started with a different name, and it was pleasure seeking, because I'm writing a book called The Magic of Pleasure Seeking. And I needed to hear my voice saying the words, because I needed, because I work with my ears more than my pen.
I'm
So
I'm sorry. I'm laughing, not at the title of your book, because I'm laughing at the contrast between you and I. I'm working on a book
that's
called
you and me.
yeah. Oh, there you go. That's exactly. You're a
I gotta
PhD.
read that book.
Yeah. I'm working on a book called Highly Educated Idiots, and you're working on a book about pleasure.
Well, anyway, I got fed up with 13 episodes, and hearing my voice talking to myself. So then I changed it to multiple voices, because it's the name of my business. I have a business called Multiple Voices.
Oh, okay.
And so that was great for me, because I tend to get bored easily. So I created different series. So channeled voices, the voices of love. I have the voice of horror, all different series. So when I find a guest that's interesting, well, I think you came under the category of the voice of work and finance, or something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
Voice of
And
Lunacy. That's what I think. I thought that was what you named that episode.
the voice of creativity, the voice of spirit, all of that. And so that's how I organize my podcast, and I try to gravitate towards interesting things, interesting topics that I like to listen to and learn about. And that's the reason for being for that, for
All right.
my
So,
podcast.
how do
Mhm.
people get a hold of you, and if they wanted to take part in any of these services?
All right, I've got 2 websites. One is www.Claudia Monacelli. Forget how he pronounced it in the beginning.
Didn't I do it right?
No. ClaudiaMonacelli.com. And the other one is ChristelleMartinet.com. Those two,
Christelle, Christ.
ELLE, and
Christelle.
Martinet, MARTINETTE.com. And you'll find my services, psychic services, on Christelle Martinet, and my movement and coaching on Claudia Monacelli.
Beautiful.
And
Wow, this
that's
has
it.
been a wild episode. About one last one.
Wait a minute. I've got a great Instagram following. If you want to go
Oh,
there,
okay, yeah.
that is The Magic of Pleasure Seeking.
Oh man,
I
imagine.
post 3 times a day.
Magic of Pleasure Seeking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where else can they get you? You're in
Well,
Italy? You in Italy now?
I'm in Rome. Yeah, I live
What
in
time
Rome.
is it?
I go back and
Oh,
forth.
well, it doesn't
So
matter.
it's almost it's rounding up to 7 p.m. You're at 1 p.m., aren't
All
you?
right, so
Right?
6 hours. 6 hours
6
ahead. Yeah.
hours difference. Yeah. And I go to New York. I go to New York, New Jersey often, but I'm waiting now to find a little more heat before I move out
Yeah.
there, go
Oh, boy.
travel out there because it's not a good time now.
No, there's been this massive storm that's everybody's going
Yeah.
crazy. Even on 95 up to DC, there was like people were stuck for 24 hours on the
Yeah.
road.
I had a
Yeah,
guest
couple of weeks
who
ago.
was in an hour I should have interviewed, but we have to postpone it because she has no power.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's crazy.
yeah.
All right, so one
Oh.
last thing before you leave.
Yes.
Could you please say screw the commute?
What's my favorite drink?
No. Please say screw the commute in Italian.
Oh, vaffanculo il commute.
Funkula?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, Funko,
Right.
you.
And that was free.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm not paying a whole day for that. Oh, thanks so much, Claudia, for coming on. It's been a blast.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right, everybody. We will catch you all on the next Afukula. What is it? You do the ending for us. Catch you all in the next episode of
We'll catch you all on the next episode of Vaffanculo il Commute.
All right, we'll see you, everybody.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.